Well, out of all of the Albaz lore archetypes, I think it's pretty safe to say that Spriggans and Ice Jades have kind of just been left in the dust compared to everything else getting absolutely broken support. But finally, Spriggans have gotten two new cards that absolutely blow this archetype to a whole new level. One of them is an Xyz monster that searches and is a Trident on the opponent's turn. And they also have a searchable soul charge, which is nuts when you consider that the entire deck is made of level 4s, so you're basically now just playing like a rank 4 spam deck with all kinds of different Xyz monsters. So there's a lot to talk about here, but if you don't know much about Spriggans, the entire deck revolves around having like the field spell on the field, because this just lets you like cheat out Xyz monsters. And there's all kinds of random Spriggans monsters that do different things. I'm going to be showcasing a lot of different cards that you've probably never seen before in this video. So I'm going to try to go like really fast, and if you need to see what the cards do, feel free to just pause, because I'm not going to do a whole lot of explaining and reading card text unless it's super important. So this will be a 2-card combo with the field spell and the Rockey, and there's tons of ways to search the field spell, as well as Spriggans monsters in this deck. So an opening hand like this, you can get to this a ton of different ways. So we're going to go ahead and activate the field spell here, and we're going to use its effect. This is going to send the Rockey from our hand to summon Merrymaker. Merrymaker on summon is going to send Brothers from deck to grave, and Brothers, when it's sent to grave, will revive the Rockey from grave. Now we can use the Rockey effect to add back the Brothers, but you don't need to, because we're just going to attach it to the Merrymaker anyway, which is something you can do from hand or grave. So you don't need to use Rockey here. You can save that effect for later if you want to recycle something. But it is important to have the 2 materials when you make the Sargus. So Sargus you summon by just overlaying it on top of any Spriggans Xyz, so super easy to summon. Once per turn you can just add a Spriggans or Therian card to your hand, and then during either player's turn, if an Xyz material is detached, you can target a card on the field, either destroy it or return it to the hand. So this is the Trident I was talking about. Except it can pop cards, but it can also bounce cards. So against cards that have like destruction effects, like tier fusions, you can just bounce those instead. So it's a super versatile form of interruption. And we're going to use its effect to search the new broken card, the Tally-Ho. This is the searchable soul charge. So when you activate this card, you can also detach up to 3 materials for monsters you control. That's super important. Add 1 Springans monster from your deck to your hand. Then if you detached any materials, you can special summon that many Spriggans from your hand or grave. So if you have 2 materials, you can search for a monster and then revive 2. Or if you detach like 3, you just get like 3 monsters back from the hand or grave. So this absolutely helps you spam the board like crazy, while also just being a searcher for any Spriggans monster. This card is absolutely insane. Oh, plus if it's in the grave, you can like detach an Xyz to add it back to hand. So it's a searchable soul charge that brings itself back every turn, which is nuts. So we're going to go ahead and use it here. We're going to detach the 2 materials, because what this is going to let us do is summon the Sargus from hand that we just searched off of this, and we can summon back the Brothers from grave. So what this is going to do is let us make any generic rank 4 that we want, because this deck has no archetypal restrictions, which kind of makes this insane when you consider how much you can spam. So you can make something like a Dweller for example. And the Dweller is super cool because it detaches as a quick effect, and Sargus activates his effect to destroy or bounce when a material is detached, right? So at any point during your opponent's turn, you can detach from the Dweller to, get the Dweller effect, and then pop a card or bounce a card. Plus Sargus, if you don't know what Sargus does, during your opponent's turn, you can detach one material from an Xyz you control, target a face-up card on the field, destroy it. So this board basically is, you get the Dweller effect, you detach one material, so now Dweller is activated, and then on a new chain you get Sargus to pop or bounce, and then later on the Abyss Dweller will have one more material on it, which means you can use the Sargus effect, detaching that last material to pop another card. So this is like a super simplified setup. This deck can do even crazier things than this, which I'm going to show you later. But this is like a super simple like Dweller, a pop, or a bounce, and a pop. Just off of like these two cards. And then if you have any leftover material on your Xyz, you can like bring back the Tally-Ho next turn, which is crazy. So like I said, that last one was a more simplified version of this two-card combo. So this one's going to be a bit more technical and a bit more complex, but the inboard is even better. So we're going to start pretty much the same way as last time, just going through the same steps, sending the brothers, adding back the Rockey, add back the brothers here. Now we're going to actually normal summon the brothers. This deck can play a lot without using the normal summon, but sometimes you can just use the normal summon like this, because this is a super easy way to search for a normal summon. And you can go for something like a Gear Gigant X here. We're going to use the Gear Gigant X. You can add like any level 4 Spriggans. I like adding the Pedor because it gives us like a diverse group of names. Like we get the Pedor, the brothers, and the Rockey here. So it just gives us like a diversity of names. Because what we can do is we can attach the Rockey from grave before making the Sargus here. Now Sargus has 2 materials, Gear Gigant has 1 material, so that now once we get the Tally-Ho, this can detach from non-Spriggans Xyzs as well. So you can detach from the Gear Gigant with the Tally-Ho as well. So we're going to use this, we're going to detach all 3. So we're going to detach both from the Sargus and 1 from the Gigant. So this is going to let us summon 3 monsters. The Sargus from hand, the brothers and Rockey from grave. And we still keep the Pedor in hand. This could be useful if you want like 1 extra material. But you can also search Rockey, because that will give you follow-up for the next turn actually. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a Gallant Granite, but realistically this can be any non-number rank 4. I think Gallant Granite's probably the best one to go into, because you can just search a Nibiru right before we go for the Utopic Future combo. Because you can use like any generic rank 4 here to help make the Utopic Future, but if you go for Gallant Granite, you can search something like a Nibiru. This deck also has a lot of searchable traps, so you'll see in a later combo we can actually search like Lord of the Heavenly Prison with this, so then we have like a couple of trap cards with a board like this with the Heavenly in hand as well, which is funny. So this board doesn't make Dweller, instead we make the Utopic Future. And the Utopic Future gets 3 materials, and it's a Monster Negate and Steel. Right, so we get the Monster Negate, we get the 2 interruptions with the Sargus and the other Sargus. And then we get the searchable Nibiru if like shit hits the fan and we need to just kind of wipe the board. And then we end also the 1 Sprigans card that we searched off Gear Gigant. Again, this can be like a Rockey or something to help you like generate advantage on the follow-up play. But this can really be any level 4 machine you want. So here is another absolutely insane Sprigans card called Springans Watch. Normally, if you don't have the gold Golgonda on field, it just searches the field spell. But if you already have it, it adds a Sprigans monster to your hand and also foolishes a Sprigans monster. So it's an add and a foolish in one card if you have the gold Golgonda. So you can do some pretty crazy things with just this card alone if you have the Golgonda. So let's take a look here. We're going to go ahead and activate, of course, because we need to. We're going to add the Rockey and dump the Branga. Branga, if it's in grave, you can banish it and another Sprigans to search for any Sprigans card. So you like having this in the grave. And then we're going to go for the standard Rockey brothers, bring back Rockey, Rockey add back brothers. Normal summon the brothers here. We're going to overlay for the Gigant X. Gigant X is going to search for the Sprigans monster. And then we can again, we can use the Rockey Engrave attached to the Merrymaker. So now we have a 2-mat Sargus. And we're going to use the Sargus, add the Tally-Ho once again. Card is broken. We're going to activate Detaching 3, just like last time. And we're going to go bringing back all of these. Yeah, so the Sargus and the 2 level 4s. So this will give us our interruptions. And just like last time, we're going to make the Granite. And we're going to add the Heavenly Prison. Because it is a rock monster. And then we can go for the Utopic Future and the Utopic Future Dragon. So this is our full setup here in terms of monsters, right? Three interruptions just on these cards alone. Then we can use the Branga effect in grave, banishing the Merrymaker. Because we didn't summon this Merrymaker properly, so we can't like reborn it or anything, so the best thing we can do is just banish it. So we're going to add the Sprigans Blast. What this card does, if you control a Sprigans monster, choose a opponent's main monster zone. If a monster is face up in that zone, during this turn it cannot attack directly, also its effects are negated. If no monster is in that zone, it cannot be used this turn. So you can either like lock out a zone, or just use it as like a imperm. So it's basically just a monster negate, is what you're going to be using it as most of the time. So we get like a searchable monster negate trap here. We can activate the prison, we can set the blast. So what the prison is going to do is it's going to protect our blast from destruction while it's set. And if we activate the blast, we can summon the prison and set any spell trap from our deck. That's right, so if our opponent like summons a monster, like we want to negate it with the blast. And then we can summon the prison, and we can set any spell trap from our deck. So, for example, you can get the Tally-Ho. So now you can just soul charge again next turn with the Tally-Ho. On top of having like the big body. Right, and then of course you have the 3 monster negates on top of that. The Heavenly Prison. Well, not 3 monster negates, but 3 interruptions. Right, so then on the crackback turn, you just have insane amounts of damage. You have the Tally-Ho, which can soul charge back all of your dudes from grave. You have the machine that you searched last turn that we never used. So like you get all of this off of 2 cards. Like all of this value, all of this ability to like crack back on the follow-up turn to OTK. All off of just 2 cards. It's crazy. Alright, let's get into a little bit more weird stuff. This time we're going to start off with gold plus watch plus a card we want to like shuffle back into the deck. Because you'll see here in just a moment, we're going to use the watch to add Springans Kitt. Yes, this card is a Springans card, not a Despia card. Crazy, I know. And it does actually work pretty well in this deck. As you can see here, we're going to go for we're going to pitch it to summon the Merrymaker using gold Golgonda. And once we send brothers, we can just special summon the Kitt back to the field. And now we can trigger its effect, right? So we can get the Branded and High Spirits. Yes, this card is not only good in Tearlament, turns out, it's also super good in this deck, and I'll show you how. So we're gonna put back the random card. We're gonna add the brothers to the Merrymaker as material, so that way we have 2 materials on the Sargus. We're gonna add the Tally-Ho as usual. We're gonna activate detaching both materials here, adding a Rockey. Now we can special the Rockey and the brothers. Now the Rockey is going to trigger targeting the Branga that we sent off the watch earlier. We're going to add the Branga to hand, and now we have a machine monster to use with High Spirits. So we're going to activate High Spirits. We're going to send the Sprend, because it's a machine with 2500, discarding the Branga, because we want this card in grave anyway, so it's super good to use as discard fodder. And then we can add another copy of Kitt, because Kitt, if you have a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz in grave, which we do, it's basically just a level 4 extender. So after you use it the first time, you can use it again as like just a level 4 extender to make rank 4 stuff. So the effect of special in like a Despia deck, you're just using it to search for a branded spell trap. But in this deck, it's good also as a material for Xyz, because you're not locked into fusions or anything like you would be in any other deck. Right, so we can make the Gear Gigant here, can search for a Rockey for next turn. We can make the Granite, which will add like a Lord of the Heavenly Prison, because we do have the Branga in grave. So like we can make the Utopic Future. We can add the Blast, set the Blast, reveal the Prison, and then during the end phase, the Sprend will trigger. And since we sent it to grave this turn, we can special summon a Springans from our deck. Right, so this will give us our Captain Sargus, which is our last form of interruption. So this is like the exact same board as last time, except you can do like some shenanigans with Branded and High Spirits. So next I have 2 examples of Branded and High Spirits combos without using Kitt to search it. Like if you just hard draw it, it's still super good if you just hard draw it. Because first thing we're going to do is we're just going to activate it, sending the Rockey and the Sprend to search for Kitt here. And then we can use the gold Golgonda. We can use Kitt as discard fodder for the Merrymaker. Send brothers send Rockey, or brothers special Rockey. And then Rockey can add back the Kitt, so we haven't normaled, and we basically just to get to recycle this Kitt, which we can then use as another level 4 extender later, because we have the Sprend in grave, which we can do right now. So we get a level 4, we can attach the brothers so that we can get a 2-mat Sargus. Sargus will search the Tally-Ho, and we can make the Granite once again, searching for the Lord. We can activate the Tally-Ho here, adding the Branga, because we already have like so much material in grave for level 4s and we already have the Sprind. So we don't really need to search for the Captain Sargus because we can special summon it during the end phase. So the best thing to do is search Branga so that we can like pitch it to the grave and get the search effect for the trap. So then we have the trap plus the Lord combo. Right, and then Spriggan's Kitt on summon, we can like add the Branded and High Spirits from grave, and then you can like put the Branga back in the deck if you're not able to discard it. We can add the Rockey here off of this. Make the Utopic Future combo. And we haven't normaled yet, so we can actually normal the Rockey that we searched with the Gear Gigant. Yeah, we made all of this without normaling, which is nuts. And then, like I said earlier, if you have like that extra little bit of extension, you can make this full board here, and then like just drop any generic rank 4 on top of that, like an Abyss Dweller. So, I cut off the replay early, but so the Sprind during the end phase will summon the Captain Sargus. So then we would have the Monster Negate, the Bounce, the Pop with Sargus, and the Abyss Dweller. And then Lord, if you have traps, you can search the Lord. If you don't have any traps, you can search like Nibiru instead. Because Nibiru will be kind of like protection if you get like Dark Ruler Raigeki'd or something. You can have the Nibiru just to like give you an extra turn to hopefully OTK next turn. So that combo only worked because we had Rockey in hand. What if we just draw like some random Spriggans that doesn't do anything, like Pedor? So you have the Branded, and you'll have to like pitch something like Pedor, right? Because Rockey lets you recycle stuff, whereas this really doesn't. So this will be like an alternative combo if you don't open the Rockey as well. So we're going to use Branded, we're going to pitch the Pedor and the Sprind to search for Kitt here. And then we can use the Golgonda, pitching the Kitt, summon the Merrymaker. You've seen this a lot already before. We're going to summon back the Pedor with the brothers here before we make the Sargus. Sargus will search for the Tally-Ho, and then we can Tally-Ho for 2 after searching the Rockey. So now we have the Rockey in rotation. And then plus we get the Kitt here, which you can use its effect to basically put this High Spirits from grave back into the deck, because she can add from grave as well. So you can basically put this back in your deck if you really want to, but it's not really necessary. We're going to use the Pedor and the brother to make the Gear Gigant X. Gear Gigant X is going to search for another Rockey, or any other Spriggans if you want, but Rockey is the better choice because it'll let us like recycle stuff. And then we can go for Granite, search like a Nib or something, and then go for the Utopic Future. And then during the end phase, we'll get the Sprind to summon the Sargus. So we started with 3 cards, we ended on 3 interruptions plus a Nib, and then like 2 other Spriggans in hand for follow-up next turn. So you can kind of just do the same combo over and over again, as long as you have Golgonda plus Rockey. Like you can kind of just do all of this like every turn, because you're recycling so much and you're searching so much. Now here's a little bit of heat for you. This is going to be the Anti-Tear combo. So by the time Photon Hypernova comes out, if Tearlament is still like dominating because of like Ishizu cards or whatever, you can go for this combo I'm about to show you, because this will hurt Tear a lot if you can go for it. We're gonna use the Golgonda and the Watch here. Yeah, there's tons of ways to get to this board too, but you know, Golgonda plus Watch kind of just does everything, so This will be like the best way to show it. And we're just gonna go for all of the standard stuff here, right? Rockey, attach the brothers to this guy. Attach the Pedor to this guy too. Yeah, so if you don't want to send the Branga, you can send Pedor. Because this will put 2 level 4s in grave for the Sargus and the Tallyho. So this will help us like rank 4 spam. So now we have a 3-mat Sargus. And we're going to search for the Tallyho, of course. Now we can go for the Tallyho for 3. So this will let us summon Rockey from hand, Pedor from grave, and brothers from grave. So we have absolutely insane amounts of rank 4 material on board. So we're going to make Gear Gigan X, right? And we're going to add Dimension Fortress Weapon. So this card says cards cannot be sent from the deck to the graveyard. So your tier opponent just cannot mill cards. So Scream doesn't work, Kitt Kalos doesn't work, Merly doesn't work. Like they can't send anything from deck to grave. And if that wasn't enough, you can also just use any of your level 4s to make a Dweller. So now, and we haven't normaled yet, so we can just normal summon the robot. So basically, we have Dweller, which stops effects in grave. We have Fortress Weapon, which cards cannot be sent from deck to grave. So basically, they can't do anything. And then plus we have the Sargus. So whenever we want to detach with the Dweller, we can like pop or bounce something with the Sargus as well. So they're gonna need like a Dark Ruler or a Droplet or something for these two, or else they're just not gonna be able to play the game for that turn. Plus, if you like hard draw this going second, you can just normal this. And they won't be able to use any mill effects during your turn, like Scream or Havness. So you can like combo off having this guy on board. And they won't be able to mill things unless they like waste their Sulliek on this stupid robot, which is extra funny. So overall, this deck has been an absolute blast to playtest, because it can do so many different things. Like you have the entire generic rank 4 pool at your fingertips. You can also, thanks to having the Soul Charge, being able to just spam the board with a bunch of random monsters, you can even make cards like Appaloosa turn 1. Like if you Tally-Ho for 3, and then just like bring back 3 cards, it's a pretty easy Appaloosa. Or if you're going second, you can like link climb using all of those monsters up into an access code. Right, an access code is like if you use a link 3, like a Nightmare, before you make this, he'll go up to 53, and then Sargus is 28. So 53 plus 28 is like 81. So if you're able to just like stick an access code and a Sargus, which honestly is not hard at all, that's like an easy OTK. You can just pop a bunch of cards and then swing for game. Plus, it's an Xyz deck, so you also have access to cards like Zeus. X-Blower is a super good card going second, because you can just pop a bunch of stuff. And I didn't show this off in this video, because it's not super worth it, but all of the Springans Xyz, you can banish them until the end phase during your opponent's turn. And if they had any Xyz material when you banished them, it will trigger the Sargus, so that's like an alternate way to trigger the Sargus if you don't want to use like Dweller or a Captain Sargus as well. And of course, Utopic Future is a super annoying card to deal with. And the deck has absolutely no restrictions. So you can you have like the entire Link pool, you have the entire Xyz pool, side deck options like Dimension Fortress Weapon, because you have Gear Gigant X, it gives you just a ton of different ways, like it gives you the entire machine pool in your side deck. Also Gallant Granite can search any rock monster, so if you need a level 4 extender like a Gigantus, if you want to search for like a Gigantus, you can use that as well for like an additional level 4 extender, because you can usually put the Gear Gigant or the Granite in grave, and then like summon this out. So that's pretty useful. Plus the engine can be small if you want it to, which leaves plenty of space open for like hand traps and stuff. Like I don't even know if these ratios are optimal or not. Like you can maybe cut down on the Brangas as well, but you have plenty of options in this deck for hand traps as well. Especially if you don't want to run High Spirits or you don't want to run the Booty. Because Booty is not a good card. The only thing it's good for is that it searches the Golgonda. So you're basically playing like 5 copies of Golgonda if you play the Booty. Otherwise, this card's not that great. There's also another trap called Interluder, which, when your opponent activates any card or effect, you can return a Springans Explaining to the extra, and you basically just get to negate that effect. And it's a continuous trap. So you can also do something like this. You can search this if you think you're going to be ending on like a random Spriggan Explaining, like a Merrymaker or an X-Blower. Or it's also, it being a continuous trap, it's also chainable to pretty much anything because you can just activate it without effect. So if your opponent tries to like Dark Ruler your board and you have like a Dweller, you can like chain the Interluder and then chain the Dweller. So this is like a pseudo out to Dark Ruler because you can at least use your other chainable effects like Dweller on top of this. And there sometimes are hands where you will have like the Lord of Heavenly Prison with like both traps and like maybe an Imperm as well. You can try this sample deck list. Again, I threw this deck list together super quick, and I'm not a good deck builder, which is why I never post deck profiles on my channel, but if you want to like just kind of mess around with combos and figure out and like practice the combos I showed you here, or even like find new tech, kind of like the Dimension Fortress Weapon, you can try to find some new tech in the machine pool or the rock pool with these two, then feel free. But other than that, thank you for watching.